Welcome to Drafting with Mark, and in this video we're going to take a look at drawing this shape using 3D AutoCAD. Now if you watched any of the previous videos, you've seen that I did this one using 2D drafting, and I've also drawn this in Inventor. So this one we're going to be strictly using 3D AutoCAD, so if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and stick around in this video. So when we get to modeling this in 3D AutoCAD, I'm going to do it in two different ways. So one way is I'm going to take advantage of using the Revolve command, and the other way I'm just going to use some extrusions. So whichever way works best for you, I'm just going to give you two different options, and we're also going to expedite this by putting this on a title block as well. So if that's something that you also want to see, that'll be in the last part of this video. Now I will go ahead and put this in the chapters, so you can skip and kind of pick and choose which option that you want to use. So you might like the first option where I use mainly the extrusion method, and then the second option that I'm going to use is going to be using Revolve. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump over to AutoCAD and go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some of our normal stuff that we normally do. Let's go ahead and turn the grid off since we're not going to be using that today. And we can go ahead and put our ortho on, and then we can take a look at the running O snaps that I do have set up. So these are going to be the ones I do, or I typically use. Now, I can go ahead and switch over to AutoCAD 3D now, or I can leave it in the 2D drafting. That's going to be strictly up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and switch over now, and I'm going to use the 3D modeling option. So go ahead and select the little sprocket or little settings icon here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pick 3D modeling, and then I'm going to give AutoCAD a little bit of time just to go ahead and switch over. So what it's going to do now is change the ribbon, and it's also going to set me up with most of the common commands that I'm going to use here when I'm using 3D. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and change or turn this dialog box off. And then what I'm going to do is I need to locate everything that I'm going to need. So all of the 2D stuff is going to be located underneath the Draw and Modify window. So these are going to be the two areas that we're going to go to look at most of the stuff that we normally do in 2D. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with a circle, center diameter, right? Now, in order to do that, here's a little drop down really close to here, and if I select that, I'll get the center diameter option. I'll go ahead and pick a point, and remember that I'm going to be using the extrusion method first here. So I'm going to go ahead and create this circle here, and this circle has a diameter of 120. Once I select that, I don't see it, so I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to hit the zoom extents button, and then I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Alright, next I'm going to go ahead and place those other two circles on the inside of this one. So I'm going to go back to circle center diameter. I'm going to go to the center of this circle just by touching it, and then I'm going to click here, kind of give myself a preview. And let's do the circle that has a diameter of 70. And then I'm going to go back and let's go ahead and put in my last circle here. So circle center diameter. Once again, it's going to be at the center here. I'll click this center, kind of give myself a little preview of it, and then I'll type in 50. Alright, so now I have those circles. Next, I'm going to go ahead and place my circles that's located around here. Now, if you remember back from the drawing, it's on a circle with a bolt pattern or a bolt center of 95. So that's going to be the diameter that I need to create. So I'm going to go to circle, center diameter. I'm just going to touch here, go ahead and click on this center. Kind of preview that circle a little bit by sliding my cursor, and then I'll type in 95. Alright, so on this circle I do have a quadrant located here, which is where I'm going to place my other two circles here. So I have one that has a diameter of 14, and the inside one has a diameter of 10. So I'm just going to go ahead and place those two circles. So circle, center diameter. I'm going to click on this quadrant, kind of give myself a preview there. This first one will be 14. And then I'm going to go back to circle center diameter. I'm going to go to that quadrant again, click here, kind of preview it, and then I will type in 10. Now that's all I needed that 95 diameter circle for, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pattern this going around. Now I'm going to be using a polar array, so I'm going to select the drop down here, select polar array, should ask me to select the objects. So I'm going to select these two objects, go ahead and hit enter. After that, I want you to go and find the center of all your circles, which is here. And then I'm have to go up here and tell it that I have 8 items. So I'm just going to change that number to 8. And then I do have my associativity turned off. Now, I changed this to 8. Once I hit enter, it should take effect, right? And if it doesn't take effect, just move your cursor down into your screen, and now you're going to see this. The most important thing that I want you to do here is make sure that you do have the associativity turned off. All right, go ahead and close the array. And then the last thing I need to do here is I need to go ahead and make those slots. So that was going to be kind of the preview thing that I need to do. So I'm going to just start off with creating a line going right from this center, and I'm going out this direction. All right, let's escape out of that command, and I'm going to zoom into here a little bit. I need to offset this a distance going both sides, right? So I'm going to use the offset command. The distance that I need is going to be 3 since the overall thickness of that is 6. So I'm just going to offset a distance of 3. I'll go ahead and select this center line here. Click up one time above it. Then I'm going to select here again. And then I'm going to click below it, right? Go ahead and hit the escape button. And then we're going to go ahead and delete this center line here. And now what I need to do is I need to make a polyline that's going right in between here, even including those arcs. Right? We can do some trimming and do all kinds of other creative things, but in this case, I'm just going to use the boundary command since that's going to be super easy to us. The boundary command is going to be underneath the draw menu, and then it's going to be located at this icon here called boundary. Once I select that command, a dialog box should appear, and the reason why I'm selecting this is because see what object type that it's going to give me? It's going to create a polyline for me. So when I go ahead and go to pick points, and then I click on the inside of here, it's going to create a polyline right on the inside of that, right? After you've done that, go ahead and hit enter, and then go ahead and delete these 2 lines here. And now you have a polyline that you're going to use to create those slots. All right, let's go ahead and zoom the extents again. And then from here, I'm going to pattern these lines. So I'm going to go back to the polar array. I'll go ahead and select this object here. Go ahead and hit enter. Go to the center. Once you click on this center, your ribbon should change at the top. We do have 6. And like we did with the circles that we did before, make sure that the associativity is turned off. Go ahead and hit the close array button. And now we're actually done with all the shapes that we need to create the 3D of this, right? So to take advantage of some of the 3-dimensional things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of the wireframe, and then I'm going to switch over to 3D wireframe, right? So up here it has a 2D wireframe icon or letters. Go ahead and select that. Go in your drop down, and then I'm going to choose wireframe. All right, now you notice the color on mine have changed, and now I'm switched over to 3-dimensional stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in an isometric view. So I'm just going to select this icon here. Once I have that, now I'm ready to start doing some 3-dimensional stuff, right? I know that the thickness of this band that's going around it is going to be 16. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose extrude. I'm going to select this circle here. Then I'll hit enter. Right? I'm going to go down in this direction, right? And then I'm going to type in 16. Now this is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, so I'm going to caution you with that. If you're aiming down here and you type in 16 and it goes up, just go ahead and undo that and then go back to that command and then pull down and then tell it that it's going to be a negative value, right? All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take this part and then I'm going to extrude this down. So I'm going to go to the extrude command again. I'm going to select this ring here. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to send this going down this direction, a distance of 80. All right, let me go ahead and zoom the extents a little bit more just so I can keep this in the center for you. So now you see that that is down at 80. Next, I'm going to send this down going that direction. So let's go to the extrude again. I'm going to select the center circle here. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to pull it down this direction. And then I'm going to type in 80 as well. Now you can type in a number that's larger than 80. Make sure that it stays larger than 80, right? Go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit the enter button. And now I have that circle on the inside of that. All right, so one step I want to do before I kind of get too lost in the weeds here is that I want to go ahead and move this ring here down a distance of 16, right? Sorry, not a distance of 16, a distance of 32, because the thickness of that is 16. So in order to move this down, I'm going to select this ring here. You'll notice that I have my move gizmo set. What that means is that I have a blue icon here in the middle, so I'm just going to select that. I'm going to pull it down this direction, and you'll note that I'm kind of well below it, and I'm just going to type in 32. Alright, let's go ahead and hit the escape button. Now I have this ring here setting here at the right position. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to use a union command, right? So I'm going to go to union, and then I'm going to select this ring here, and I'm also going to select this one here. So I'll select both of those. I'll go ahead and hit enter. Now those two are joined together. If I go ahead and take this out of just a regular wireframe and let's make it like shades of gray, you'll see kind of what I'm looking at here. So you can see that I have this ring that's here, and now it's attached to this cylinder. But now I need to cut a hole through this, right? So that's why I left this cylinder here. Let's go ahead and choose the subtract option here, and I'm going to go to subtract. I'm going to first select the object I want to keep. Go ahead and hit enter after you do that, and then I need to select this cylinder on the inside. Sometimes this cylinder is easier to select if you're in a wireframe, but you're just going to have to kind of move your cursor around to only when that big center or cylinder is highlighted. Once I have that, go ahead and select it and then hit enter, and now you're going to see that you did indeed cut a hole through that. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take care of my slots since they're up here, and those slots cut down a distance of 30. Right, so let's go ahead and go back to the extrude command, and this is one of those things that I was telling you earlier. I'm just going to switch out of this shades of gray. Let me escape out of the extrude command first. I'm going to switch back to wireframe because things are easier to select in wireframe. You can get those edges and things of that nature. So I'm just going to go to extrude. And now I need to select these little tabs that I created here, right? So I'm just going to select each and every one of these. And this is where you want to be careful. And don't get me wrong, and I'm going to do a mistake on purpose. Act like I selected this for a mistake, right? And I didn't really mean to select that. You can either hold down the shift button and then select that edge again to deselect, or you can type in R, enter. So if I did this again, I select here, and I didn't do that, mean to do that, I can type R, enter, and that R means to remove, right? So I go R, enter, remove this object, and then to go back to adding objects, I just type in A, enter, and then I'm back to adding objects, right? So that's one other way that I can switch through things and select different things. All right, so once you have selected those 6 slots, go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to pull them down this direction, and then I'm going to type in the distance that I need those to go down, which in our case is going to be 30, right? So I'll type in 30, and then we're going to use that subtraction method again that we used before. So I'll go to subtract. I'm going to select this icon, or the outside here first. Go ahead and hit enter. So that's the object I want to keep. Now I need to select those parts on the inside. So I need to select each and every one of these little bitty tabs here. All right, and I got the last one. Once I hit enter, you're going to see that those subtract from it. Once again, if you want to take a look and make sure that we're on the right path, I'm going to switch over to shades of gray. And you do indeed see that I'm on the right path, right? All right, so now I need to pull my next objects down, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to kind of take a look at this from the front view. These are all of those lines, or circles I should say, that are at the top. And what I mean by that is if I rotate back, I'm taking a look at all of these little shapes here. If I go to the front view, they're going to look like a line. But I need to pull these down a distance, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select them first, and I'm using a blue window to go across them. I'll go ahead and select this blue axis, and then I'm just going to pull downward, and I always kind of go way past it just to exaggerate it a little bit. But I'm going to type in a distance of 30, because that's the height that I need that to go down from the top here. So once I type in 30, go ahead and hit enter. You will see that they are there. Let's go ahead and get back to an isometric view, and then hit escape. Now I could have done this also from the top view or from any view, right? Long as I select the right axis. Well, actually I couldn't have done it from the top view, but I could have did it from an isometric view. I'm going to rotate. Now I'm going to just kind of take a look at this from the top view. because I need to now select just these circles here. So I'm going to switch back to a wireframe view. I'm going to choose Extrude. And now I'm going to select each one of these circles, right? And I'm only selecting the big ones on the outside, right? Do not select the ones that are on the inside. Alright, so once you're done selecting those, go ahead and hit enter. I need to give it a height. Now remember, extrude goes in the Z direction. I have no way of showing which view this is from the top view, right? So I don't know if it's going up or down. But if I switch over to an isometric, then I can see that. I need these to go down this direction, so I'm just going to aim down this direction, and then I'm going to give it the height that it needs to be. And now if you refer back to the drawing, you've seen that the thickness that I'm going through is 16, and then I have a distance of 2 going above it and 2 going below it. So 16 plus the 4 should give me a height of 20, right? So I'm just aiming down and I'm going to type in 20. Those should go down through it. If I take a look at this from the side view, you can see that I do have that. Now, here's one of those nice little tricky and neat things that you know about 3D AutoCAD. If it's a three-dimensional solid or three-dimensional object, I can select those in this union and all of those circles will not be union to that. Meaning that if I go to union and then I just put a window around all of this, it's going to disregard those circles that are not three-dimensional objects. So once I hit enter, it's going to go ahead and select those, right? Once I go back and take a look at this in an isometric view, these circles on the inside here are not selected. So the only thing that were unioned are going to be those circles, right? So another little neat trick there. Here's one more trick for you. I'm just going to click back on the front view. I'm going to go to extrude again. And then I'm going to put a window going right across these at the top. Now, once again, notice that it only selected those circles. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm just going to pull these down. Make sure that distance is greater than 20 or equal to it. So you can type in 20 at this point. Me, I like to go big, so I usually type in something like 100. I like to send it way through. It makes it a lot easier to select when I use subtract. So when I go to subtract, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the objects that I want to keep first. So I'm going to select here. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to put a window going right across here at the bottom. So I'm going to left click here on the right side of it and drag to the left. And once I do that and select those, go ahead and hit enter. And now you should have that hole cut between these. Let's go ahead and take a look at it from an isometric view. And then we're going to take a look at it here in shades of gray. So once I take a look at it, that is the shape that I was trying to create, right? So that's one method of using this, right? This is strictly by using some extrusions and things of that nature. This next way I'm going to show you is going to be using the Revolve command and some other things. Now remember with this step is that I'm going to have to make 2 sketches. I can't do everything in one sketch. But some of the things that I did on this one is going to apply to using the Revolve command. So either way is fine. It's just whichever way you want to understand this, and the object of it is to kind of complete it, right? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at doing this using a Revolve method, right? I'm just going to pan this over to the side. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to draw a line. Well, let me first get out of shades of gray here. Let's escape. And we're going to just start off using a wireframe. All right, so I'm going to start off with the line command, right? So I'm just going to draw a line going straight down. And that distance, I usually like to make it the height of whatever I'm trying to create. So I'm just going to make that distance 80. All right, let's zoom in and focus strictly on here. Now I know the overall distance that goes across this thing is 120. So I'm going to draw a line. And I'm just going to send that line from here, going straight across a distance of 120. Escape out of this. I'm going to move these 2 midpoints to cross each other. So I'm just going to select this line here. I'll go ahead and select that grip there. And then I'm just going to place that grip right on that midpoint. Let's use the offset command. Let's give it a height of 8. And then we're just going to offset this line 1 time to the top, 1 time to the bottom. Okay? Kind of getting a little bit more stuff here is I'm going to go back to the offset command. And then I need to offset half of 70, right? That number is going to be 35. So I'm just going to offset this line to the left, 35. Go Go ahead and hit escape, and then I'm going to go back to the offset command, and then I'm going to offset half of that 50, which is going to be 25. Alright, so now I have those lines drawn here. I have everything that I need to create the revolve just off of these lines. Let's go ahead and erase some of this stuff and clean it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and delete this line here. Then we're going to use the line command. So I'm just going to go to line. I'll go ahead and connect some of these inputs. Go ahead and escape out of that one. Kind of finish the line command. Looks like I selected the wrong area. Let's go back to line. Go here to here. And then finally I'm going to draw a line that's going across from here to here. Alright, so now I'm going to trim this. So I'll go to trim. And I'm just going to trim off these extra lines here. I'm going to trim the gap here. And then in between here. Alright, so this is going to be what I need to create the revolve with. So I'm going to highlight all of this. And then I'm going to use the join command. Remember, join is underneath modify. And it's this icon here. Or you can select them all and hit J. Right, so I'm looking down here. I got 8 objects were converted into one polyline. That's what I like to see. So I have this and I have my revolve, right? Remember, with the revolve command, you need an axis of revolution. So I'm going to keep this line here. All right, I'm just going to pan over a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of create the top stuff that I need to put this on, right? So we're going to start off with a circle center diameter, kind of like we did with the other sketch there. Go ahead and select here. The diameter of this will be 120. I'm going to go ahead and place those circles that I need. So I'm going to go back to circle center diameter. And kind of like what we did with the first one here, I'm going to kind of create that all over again. So this is going to have a diameter of 70. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and place another circle on the inside of this that has a diameter of 50. And then I'm going to place my circles that's on the outside here that has a diameter of 95. Let's go ahead and place our other 2 circles out here. So I'm going to go ahead and place it at that quadrant. This one is 14. And then I have another one that's on the inside of this one that has a diameter of 10. Okay, like we did before, let's go ahead and draw a line going right down the middle here. Let's go ahead and back and start it at. I actually selected that quadrant. Let's go and get that line here going straight across. Go ahead and offset a distance of 3. It looks like it didn't read it. Okay, so offset a distance of 3, enter. And then I'm just going to do this line going across here and one going down here. All right, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to delete here. I'll go ahead and delete that circle there. Like we did before, we're going to create a boundary. We're going to go to pick points, and then we're going to select right on the inside of this one. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these lines here. And then I'll go ahead and do those 2 arrays, right? So we're going to use an array here. I'm going to select this object here, enter. Go to the center here, place that one. Remember, keep the associativity off. This first one here is going to be 6. Close. Go back to the polar array. And then I'm going to select these circles here, enter. Back at our center that we use for everything on this one. And then this number has to be 8. Alright, once again, verifying that the associativity is turned off. I'm going to go ahead and close the array. Next, I'm going to zoom out. So here's my other shape. And then this is the one I'm going to create. Alright, so let me go ahead and move this over just a tad bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first revolve this, right? So I'm going to go to revolve command. So we have a revolve. I need to select the objects here. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I need to select the axis of revolution, right? So I'm just going to select both of these endpoints. So I'll select here, and then I'll select here, right? By default, it assumes that you want to select 360 degrees. I'm just going to go ahead and type it in just to verify that it is indeed spinning 365 degrees. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this in an isometric view. Next thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and take a look at it in shades of gray so we can kind of see it a lot better. And now you can see that this object is what we need, but it's turning on the side in comparison to this sketch here. I can go ahead and either get rid of this axis of revolution or I can keep it for now. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it since I have no need for it. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I need to flip my shape going up. Luckily this thing is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which direction as far as on the axis, and we're going to be using the x-axis to flip this. So in my gizmos here, I'm going to select the drop down and choose rotate gizmo. I'll select my object. I'm going to select the red axis here, and I'm just going to type in 90. Alright, so from this point I need to go ahead and place things on my other view here. So what I can do is I can select from here these 6 objects, right? So I'm going to select each one of these objects. And then I'm going to tell it to move those objects by selecting the move icon here. I'm going to go at this center. And then I'm going to place them at this very top center here. And it looks like I actually selected the quadrant. Let's go ahead and undo. Let's go to move. And then let's reselect those objects again. And I actually can move all of this over, but I didn't want to kind of have a lot of stuff going on my view. So I'll select here, and then I'm going to place it at this center, right? So once I get the little plus there, I'll go ahead and select that center. I want to extrude that down, so I'm going to switch to the extrude command. I'll put a window across just these top parts, and I'm going from left to right. Enter. I'm going to send this down a distance of 30. Like we did before, we're going to go to subtract. Select the object I want to keep first. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm just going to put a window around the objects that I want to subtract. Alright, next thing I need to do is I need to move these circles, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select just those circles. Use a window there and one here. I'm going to go to move. I'm going to go from this center. And then I'm going to place it at the center here. Right? And you can see that that center is right there on the inside. So I'm going to click there. I don't need this anymore. I can go ahead and delete those circles there. And now I need to kind of do some manipulation here. So kind of like what we did before is that if I put a window around these objects here, and I'm using this blue window since it works a lot quicker, I can use this move gizmo, select the blue axis, come up, and then tell it that it needs to go up a height of 2. Alright, next let me go ahead and look at the top view here, and I'm going to choose the extrude option. Remember, like we did on the other one, I'm only going to select these big circles on the outside. Now remember that sometimes this is a lot easier to do the wireframe in wireframe, so if that is bothering you when you're selecting these objects, by all means escape out of the command and then go ahead and use the wireframe method. So once you have them selected, go ahead and hit enter. This need to go down a height of 20. I'm going to go to the union command like we did before. Union, I'm going to select all of these. Go ahead and hit enter. So now all of my rings here are selected. And then I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to put a window around all of this stuff here. Enter. I'm going to send it down a distance of, let's just call it 100. Let's take a look at this from the front view. And then we're going to subtract, right? So I'm going to go back to the subtract command. Remember with subtract, we're going to select the object I want to keep first. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to select the objects I want to get rid of, which are here along the bottom. And then hit enter, right? All right, so that was kind of using the rotate or revolve command. If that's something that you like to do, by all means, if you didn't see that you can use the extrusion, both methods work fine. We both can get the job done. That's going to be kind of up to you on which way that you kind of see it or you like to do it. Most people will look at that and say, hey, I can just revolve it since it's a cylinder, and you're absolutely correct. And in some cases, you can see that if I extrude it, I'll have to do some minimum manipulations, but I can do that, right? But for what we need, we only need one of these, right? So you can choose which one you want to keep, and the other one you want to delete at this point. So I'm just going to select this one, and then I'll delete. All right, so next I'm going to select this isometric view here just to put this in the center. And I do have this set up the way I want it to look, right? So in the isometric view, I have it set up the way I'm going to have it presented, right? If I needed to rotate this or do anything else to it, the option to do that would be now, right? But we don't need to do that. Let's go ahead and switch over to the layout tab here and then conduct the drafting part. So I'm going to go to layout. I'll go ahead and delete this viewport. And then I'm just going to start off by creating a rectangle, right? So rectangle. The lower left corner is going to be at 0, 0, enter. And then the upper right will be at 17, 11. Now we could have used an A size, but in this case, let's go ahead and use a B size. Maybe on another video, I'll start using an A size title block. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom the extents from here. Kind of zoom out a little bit more. Go to offset. Give that a distance of 0.25. And then just offset this to the inside. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my kind of white paper here match my title block. The way I like to do it is I need to right click on layout 1, or you can come up to the layout tab here at the top and then select page setup. Either way is fine. But if you right click on here, just choose the page setup manager. It should open a dialog box. Let's go to modify. And if you watched any of my other videos, you see that this is kind of the standard stuff we're going to do. I'm just going to go to DWG to PDF. I'm going to scroll down to, I say, ANSI full bleed, 17 by 11. I'll choose the extents. Let's go ahead and center this. And then 1 to 1 is what we want this to be set at. Go ahead and hit OK, and then close. All right, now we're ready. Now I'm on the layout tab. I'm going to choose base. And I'm going to choose from model space. So at this point, it's going to select the objects that I've created from model space. Depending on how fast or slow your computer this is or how big the model of it is, it might take it a little bit to kind of pull that image or pull the 3D model from the back. So mine should be coming up here in a second. All right, so it should follow your cursor around. This is the view that I want to see. So I'm just going to do a left click here. Go ahead and hit enter. Then I'm going to come up here, left click. Come this direction, left click, and then one more finally up here in the corner. I'm going to do a left click here. And once I'm done with all that, do a right click and choose enter. Once you've done that, you're going to see that all of those views are created perfectly for you. Let's go ahead and select this view here. Then I'll go to edit view. Once this comes up, I'm going to take the hidden lines off and tell it shaded with visible lines. Go ahead and tell it OK. With this view, this is actually a section, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this view since I don't need it. So I select it and hit the delete button on my keyboard. I'm going to zoom into this top view where I need to cut a section through it, right? So let's go to section. I'm going to select this view. What I'm going to do first is find the center. Once I find that center, I'm just going to touch it, and then I'm going to track over here. Do a left click, come that direction, and do another left click. Hit enter. I'm just going to move my cursor down this direction and then do a left click. All right. After I'm done with that, go ahead and hit enter, and then it should create that section view for you. Now you see that this is in line with it, so I need to break that alignment. And the way that we're going to do that is by opening up the properties window. So I'm just going to select this view. I'm going to type in PR, that stands for properties. Once the property window comes open, I'm going to take a look over here, and then I got to find where it's telling me it's pulling it from the parent view, which is located here on the bottom where it says view alignment. I'm just going to tell it to break that for me. So once I select broken, let's go ahead and hit escape. And if I go back to the home tab, I can use the move command. I'll go to move. Select that view, enter, and then I'll go ahead and place it here. Alright, so the other stuff that we usually have to do is just normal stuff, and you've seen me do this in the 2D AutoCAD videos. It's just mainly setting up our dimension style, and I'll kind of accelerate this because I know we've done this over and over again. So I'm just going to go to D-Enter. That's going to open up the dimension style dialog box. Let's go to Modify. I usually like to work from the primary units over to the right. So I'm going to go to Primary Units. I'm just going to tell it to go ahead and suppress any of the trailing zeros here. Underneath the Fit tab, that's set to 1. Even if we was using annotation, we wouldn't get this option. Let's go to the Text tab. All of this should be fine except for the height. Let's make the height just a hair smaller. So 0.125, enter. And then we're going to take a look at the symbols and arrows. And then I like to go ahead and turn these center marks off. Go ahead and hit OK. And then close. Right? So underneath the annotation option here, that's where you're going to find all of the normal stuff that we usually do. So if you wanted to put center marks on this, I can go ahead and select center marks and center lines and things of that nature, right? So I'm not going to kind of bore you with too much of the 2D stuff. If you want to, you can go back and take a look at the other video that I did on this one where I actually went through that. It's the exact same option as we did on those videos, right? So at this point, I want to, thank you for hanging in, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing me do this using 3D AutoCAD. If you would like to see me do more of these videos, please let me know, as I'm trying to do more 3D stuff as well as 2D stuff in these programs. And what I'm doing with that is I'm kind of combining them all. So I'm finding a 3-dimensional shape, and then I'm creating that in 2D as well as Inventor and the 3D AutoCAD. So if you like seeing all of that kind of stuff, please leave me a comment. I'm kind of trying to figure out, what my audience like to see me do, or if you don't mind me kind of keep going the direction that I'm going in, please let me know that as well. But thank you for watching, and I look forward to reading your comments, and until the next video.